And I'm Ryan Klein.
And this is another episode of SEO is Dead and Other Lies.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Hey, Ryan, I'm doing great, man. We're really mixing it up. You're asking me how I'm doing this
I
time.
am on the other side of the table. It's crazy over here.
This is what it's like.
This is a big table.
So how's it been going out there on the Seattle side of the world?
That's pretty good. I was actually out in Austin for about 4 days, and it was hotter than Florida. It hit 100 degrees when I was there, and I know Florida and Orlando is as miserable as it is, still doesn't hit triple digits that often.
Yeah, Austin's a big city for digital marketing, actually.
Yeah, I didn't really do any of that when I was there.
Yeah.
It was work related.
So we have a really interesting episode today. We're going to talk about something that's technically very, very important in the sense that it is technically important, and from a technical standpoint, it's important.
I love it. Yeah, you have to qualify the podcast by being like, yeah, believe me, this is important. This is why we're talking about it.
This is an important one. You're going to want to follow this.
I will say this is something that I probably know, like, that by no means I'm proficient in it. This is something I have honestly delegated for quite some time. I did learn it hands-on, much like everything else at some point in my life. But Paul, you've been pushing for this one for several months. And we've been pushing back, not for years. No, not that bad. We mentioned a few times, but you have the honors.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about today?
We're going to be covering schema and why it's important, what you can get out of it, the ones that you should use depending on the situation that you have. So, like, do you have a local website? Maybe some tips, some good info on there on how to optimize and how to do it correctly. And it's going to be it's going to be the schema episode.
Oh my goodness, schema.org markup.
Bum bum bum.
That is what it is. A lot of SEOs barely know what it is. Those that do probably have used some sort of plugin on the website and kind of probably half-assed it. Maybe didn't fill out all the required fields, or at least the optional fields that are important. And we're just going to cover as much as we think is appropriate. Yeah.
So we're going to just cover, to begin with, like, what it is, right? So, like, maybe you're new to SEO or you're a business owner and you're like, man, I keep reading this or hearing about it or whatever, and I don't know how to do any of this stuff. And so it really kind of goes into what structured data is. And structured data, right, is just a way of telling Google what different types of content you have on your site so they can display it in a different way from the SERPs. For the most part.
That is beautifully said. Very eloquent. You're a man of words.
Thank you. I do this for a living. Not really. I talk about schema for a living.
You totally do, though.
So, there's a lot of different types of structured data here. There's a lot of different types of schema, but there's a lot that you should be taking advantage of if you want to get some good results in the SERPs. So things like rich snippets, right? So if you have an article and it's like what we call ranking for ranking in the spot 0. So it's, right above the organic rankings where it's just giving a blurb about whatever someone's searching and then a link back to that site. It's kind of answering those questions. This is something that you're going to be able to take care of after you listen to this podcast.
Exactly. And I think the whole bottom line with the schema is why it's important is because, you're doing a bunch of on-page stuff, and then you're doing like some simple meta. So, you do on-page, and, search engines are crawling a page or seeing what's up with the keywords or seeing what's going on semantically. Then maybe they'll see like a title and description, but this is kind of like another, like the 2.0. Like an additional way, like search engines coming to you and saying like, I kind of know what's up with your page. I kind of get it. But if you were to do this additional information, I may be able to provide even more information on this page in a SERP.
And some of these are going to give you a little bit of a ranking boost. They can give you a little bit of a ranking boost on the local side.
I certainly think they can. And then if it's not a ranking boost, it is undoubtedly a click-through boost. That is the biggest thing.
So, and also I want to just say it's important because Google is moving away from being a search engine, and it's becoming more of just like a portal to get information, right? Like, I remember when you had to actually click on like ESPN's website to get the score of games, and now Google just kind of feeds you the score right from it, or like movie times. There's a million things where Google is just giving that information right in the SERPs versus having to click through to the sites. And, that's just kind of how it's going to continue to be. I think it's going to be even more so. So taking advantage of this, you're going to at least have people see your brand, maybe click through to get more information, but you still want to be there in the conversation. And the only way to do that is to have this markup.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's definitely a trend going on where Google, like you said, is trying to provide as much information possible based off your search query, where you don't even have to click in through the website. So the point of this, and it's going to evolve over time, of course, is like you're going to do a search. How can we provide like snippets and information maybe like on the side where you're getting the information you need without even having to click through or take an additional step?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what the difference between schema, microdata, and structured data is.
Oh, perfect. You have the honors, my friend.
Or JSON. So they're just like different forms, right, of markup. One of them is like kind of older than the other. The preferred now for Google is like JSON LD, right? That's the one that they want you to use. So if you're gonna use any of this stuff, you go to schema.org and you look it up. You're gonna want to use that one to mark up your site. But basically all it is, it's a little bit of code where you're adding in like specific information about whatever the data is that you're marking up, right? So it could be like for like reviews, right? So if you want like the star snippet next to your, or the stars next to your business name, like in the SERPs, you're gonna have to use that to mark up the pages. You got to mark up the reviews and tie it next to the store, and that's the only way you're gonna get that anymore is if you have like the markup on your site.
Sure. And then schema, this is used by, I'm reading, I'm not telling you where I'm reading it from because I refreshed my memory. It isn't just used by Google. It is used by Bing and Yahoo if you care even a little bit, but just know that it's not like an exclusive, like, schema.org organizations is supposedly independent. This does feed into multiple search engines. So, if you do implement schema in any form to your website, just know that it's going to apply to not just Google.
Yeah, your Googles, your Bings, your Yandexes, they all use this.
Right off the bat, I mean, we're obsessed, with Google. I mean, I don't say obsessed like we're freaking creepy. It's just that all we care about is Google based off of stats and numbers.
Yeah. If Bing got more, I would only care about Bing.
Yeah, I'm curious. Have you ever looked over at Bing or Yahoo and seen like how they represent schema information that's implemented correctly?
I've only used that when I'm like initially I have a computer and I'm using Bing to Google Chrome. So no, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that like 10-second gap where you're starting up a new computer and you're like, I don't have Chrome
That
yet,
was
so I
enough.
guess I have to do a search on Bing.
Yeah, that was enough for me.
And then their schema markup is like, why don't you like me? And you're like, this is weird schema, man.
Yeah, but let's talk a little bit though about some of the different types, right? And then I'll give you an example of what you need to implement like right away. So there's like creative works. So if you have articles, we talked a little about that earlier, taking advantage of like rich snippets and stuff. If there's like Q&As in your content, you can mark that up. And this is actually really important because that feeds into voice search, which is becoming a very like an even bigger part of like the search process.
And we do have a podcast specifically in voice search.
We do. So you wanna make sure like you're marking all this stuff up. If you have an event coming up, you can mark that up, and it'll show people all that information that's pertinent about the event. They can just Google the event name, and it'll show up right there in the SERPs. They don't have to go through the site. If you are an organization or a business, you want to mark that up. If you're a local business, you want to do that. So there's a couple of caveats with that, though. If you don't want to necessarily have these on every single page when you implement this. So if you're an organization, you want to just have that organization schema on like your homepage and maybe your About Us page or like your Contact Us page. And then if you're a local business, there's a local business schema that you can use that will tell Google like, oh, this business is in this city. There's a bunch of other things that you can mark up in there that are local related. And then maybe you have like multiple locations for a local business. You have like 5 or 6 locations in like a city. You can mark up each individual page of that location and keep like the organization at just like the home page, right? That's how they want you to do it.
Yeah, I,
Um,
I feel like the schema for local is kind of like that last piece of the puzzle, sort of for like our local optimization, because we've gone through it. We talked about setting up maps, setting up Google My Business correctly, what a 100% profile looks like nowadays, building links to like the landing page it's linking to for authority. You can even build links, to the maps. Um, we've talked about embedding maps. I don't think that works. I've tried that in the past, and I feel like the schema local is like the last piece to kind of set it over for some people.
yeah, I totally agree. So another one I wanted to point out too before we get off track from that is like the person schema, which is pretty neat. So if you have your own website, you can do all that markup, and then it like shows all the information about you right in the SERPs. Like you're an important person, you're a big deal. It does like that. And then there's like product schema, which will tell people like pricing information about a product from the SERPs, so they can see right away. Like one of the biggest things that stop people from converting is not knowing the price of like a product. So there's tons of businesses that don't necessarily want to give out the pricing structure up front, right? Because maybe you have like a service-based business and it's the client is like worth a lot more than like a smaller client, right? So you want to quote like a higher price for them. Um, but this gives you the ability to like you can say like kind of a price range, so like dollar signs for it. So it could be like, oh, this is like $1, this is like $3, whatever, without actually giving like the actual like price. Sort of like when you see like restaurants and it's like, oh, from $1 sign to like four, like how expensive it's going to be to like go there. So it's sort of a
Yeah,
good
it's going to be
look
like
around.
if it's $4 signs, most things on the menu are $4, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So like $4 is going to be very expensive compared to one, four times as much.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
not literally, I suppose.
So I mean that's like the difference between a Big Mac and whatever dollar menu thing they got there, man. Like one you're eating well, one you're not eating well in either of those scenarios, I guess. Now that I think about it. But getting back on track here.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got it, man. Okay, go for it.
yeah. But so those are some of the major types of like schema that you're gonna want to mark up on your site. One of the issues that I've always run into is that it's not always easy to like implement this if you don't have sort of like a dev or a dev background to add this code on. So there's like workarounds and stuff for this, right? And so one of the ways a lot of people try and get a workaround is they use Google Tag Manager because, well, Tag Manager is created for people that don't have dev skills, so they can add codes and stuff to their website. But I would like to point out, at nowhere on like the instructions for Tag Manager do they go through how to implement schema through Tag Manager. It's because they don't want you to use it for whatever reason. It doesn't support that. They want you to either like hard code it on the site, and then if you're using WordPress, the world's most famous CMS, there's a lot of plugins, but all of them sort of like usually need a little bit of custom work done. Because what they really want you to do is put the actual text of what the markup is on like a page, and that looks really weird. It's just like a bad user experience. So sometimes you're gonna need like a little bit of like dev work on some of these plugins to like hide stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking here. I mean, so you're saying that you generate the schema via Tag Manager, or do you use Google
No,
Structured
no,
Data
no,
Markup Helper?
no. You never generate it with Tag Manager. Tag Manager is just a means of getting it on your site and telling it to fire on certain pages. So a tool that Google made a while back, which was the data like highlighter, is like you just basically literally highlight like text on your page and you tell it like what it is, and then Google like kind of creates like that markup for you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm actually hanging out right here in Structured Data Markup Helper, and some of the options that it has, and I'm not sure when the last time they updated this. It seems pretty contemporary compared to some of the other tools. You see articles of events are really important. Events can have details such as the location and the times. Think about, a festival with more than one day. Think about like a tour like Warp, that now defunct Warp Tour. I'm sure that was primed for schema. Movies, restaurants, book reviews, job postings, software applications, data sets, and TV episodes. So think about just anything that has data that can be accessed right from
Yeah.
search result.
And they have one that just says data sets. I mean, think about how comprehensive that is. Like
Like
that's
here,
a million different things.
yeah, and right below it, I mean, the aforementioned question and answer page, mention that, and then local businesses. So that'd be something I definitely tinker around with. And as far as like the implementation, um, so you're talking about Tag Manager, right? And you're talking about how you want certain things to fire on certain
Yeah,
pages.
yeah. So I'm definitely saying don't use Tag Manager because they don't want you to do this.
So how do you go about having things fire on different pages? So like, for example, let's say, I always default to lawyers. Let's say I'm a lawyer, right? And I have a website,
Yep.
and by default, every single page on the website could technically have schema for lawyer. My geo pages that are set up for my satellite offices could be set up for local businesses, and then all my blogs could technically, if they're long and thorough, could be set up with all the articles.
Yep.
So how would I go about making sure that schema fired, I guess, correctly for each one of those pages, though they're different?
Well, I mean, you have to write some rule. Like this really depends on how you're doing it. Like, do you have a dev doing it? You're doing it on the back end, right? Or so we've already established you don't want to use Tag Manager for it. So you can like, depending on the content type, have like custom sections built out to like add the snippets in there, or you can, if you're using like WordPress, like I said, you can get those plugins, and then you can specify at the page level what you want like the markup to be. So that's another way to do it. So those are like the two main ways. I know it
Uh,
seems like kind of boring and dumb, but I'll tell you one thing that's really cool is when you get like a rich snippet, and you get that markup and you're number one and you rank, you rank number 0 there. Honestly, your click-through rates go through the roof for those. And it's like saying like your SEO is better than everyone else's because you have not only you're probably ranking really high organically, but you also have that like coveted snippet that everyone's trying to get.
yeah, and so from your experience, and this is what kind of interests me the most about all this, is that it seems that everyone kind of does it correctly. So, for example, all right, one of them that's very important is your aggregate rating. Being able to show reviews in a search result is insanely important because the click-through goes through the roof. So right here, I'm looking at an example, and it's like schema.org/aggregate rating, which is the schema appropriate for being able to display rating.
Yeah.
And then you put in aggregate rating given, meaning you're going to just tell, or you're just going to input like whatever number you want. It technically
No.
doesn't pull from anything,
That
does
is
it?
not true. No. So you have to. So the aggregate rating and the reviews are pulled from reviews that you have to collect on your site, and then you have to display on your site and on a page or location wherever the markup is for all this to like work out. So you have to have a platform, some way of like collecting reviews, and then a way of displaying those reviews that are relevant to like whatever that page or service is for this to all like for it to pull from like the aggregate data review, like all that stuff. And then you have to mark up each individual review as a review to show all this stuff in there to get the star rating.
So did they change it? Because I know for a fact that in the past we've like had clients that just had like a handful of reviews and like a 4.8, and then we said that they had 400 reviews and a 5.0, and it displayed that.
Yeah, so I think before you didn't even have to have like an individual page where they were all like loaded, but they've really like changed up how they did it. And so this is actually like an issue we were running through at my current job. They weren't able to have these displayed, the star rating displayed, and then we made some adjustments to it, and it fixed the problem. But yeah, I would absolutely suggest like getting legit reviews and then displaying them, and then marking up that page with the schema markup for reviews.
Gotcha. So, it's very popular in most competitive industries to do this aggregate rating because, the click-through goes through the roof, of course. So I've seen instances where, it's the first page of search results, there's, 10 organic, and then like a handful of them have it and a handful don't, but everyone technically put in the same schema markup. What have you seen some of the reasons that people's like schema just doesn't render or show up in results, even though they like technically followed step by step what they were supposed to do?
I would say that they still, while they've done it technically right, there's like tricks and things that like would cause it not to show, right? And
Ooh, man, the tricks. This is what everyone's been waiting for. I finally got at you.
we
Let's do
got
it.
it.
What are the
So this is
tricks?
actually what we were going through at my current job, right? So they had, they had local schema on a page because they got it at a lot of locations, and then they had the markup for those reviews on those pages, right? Tied to like about those businesses, and they even had a separate page with the reviews loaded on it, but it still wasn't working at all. Like none of them across the board for any location. There's over 500 locations.
Hmm.
None of them had any of the star rating. They didn't have any of like how much it cost, right? Like the price range, any of that stuff. And so what we realized is that you kind of have to have some of the markup live inside of elements. So we like moved it within inside like the local business markup itself, and it fixed it in like 24 hours.
Ooh, and then what happened? It was like across the board for all
Yeah,
hundreds of
everywhere.
locations.
That's right.
What did your click throughs just like double, or did
No,
your traffic go
no,
through
I
the roof?
didn't. It didn't. It didn't double. Interestingly, like you're getting this in like Google, right, in the SERPs and the organic SERPs, but the vast majority of our clients come through Google My Business. So that's it's like it's a nice probably like qualifying thing, and people see it, make them feel better about it, and then they'll click maybe on the Google My Business listing above it. But we didn't see like crazy click throughs from it.
You saw improvement though, because there's just no way
Yeah.
around the fact that that 5-star schema is just awesome.
Yeah, it is, and most of the locations have um, like four or higher, star wise. So like, I think if it's under 2.5, it doesn't show at all, too. You
Yeah,
want to keep
because
that in mind.
2.5 stinks.
Yeah,
That's
if the aggregate rating is under a certain amount, I
yeah.
might
If
want to
it's
double check
yeah,
that actually.
who the hell wouldn't that aggregate and display? That'd be a complete
Oh,
detriment.
yeah, you want to take that off your site.
Oh yeah, just delete your website. Yeah, if that was gonna stick there, it'd be done.
Yeah, but there's a lot of like schema is kind of annoying, but it's one of those things that if you do it right, you kind of master it. You can really take advantage of a lot of things that Google is offering. I mean, there's like rich cards. There's like all the stuff that there'll only be like more things coming out in the future.
Yeah, they keep adding things, and for sure, I don't really know how they collaborate with search engines and get feedback on what to add or really much about that side of things. But yeah, if you go through them on their website, I mean, there's tons of creative works. There's embedded non-text objects. There's stuff for audio object, image object, video object. I mean, that could be anything. Health and medical types, organizations, local businesses go on forever. I mean, there's just so many tags
Yeah.
um, that are
What's
on
one of
here.
the one that's just coming out now? It's pretty cool. It's how-to schema.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so it makes like a carousel appear when people search like certain how-to things, and then it's like you can click through the carousel and see like different aspects of it, of like the how-to. Is that,
So no, knowing us, okay, and pretty much our background, what we enjoy doing, if you were to hack anything on schema, not hack, but exploit, what do you think would be the first thing that you'd want to probably mess around with besides like something that just rolled out right now?
um, man,
Is there
that's
anything
like
that you're experimenting with?
that is
Yeah, how to, cool. Oh,
yeah,
how to
yeah.
tie a tie.
Um, I think like I would look into taking advantage of like the Q&A stuff they have and some of these other features that like they're just like really launching and no one's done it. So like the how-to is like a perfect example of something that you can take advantage of, and no one else is really going to be doing it yet.
So you think that people can do a lot of how-tos for pretty much any industry because you can literally do how-to for any business in the history of mankind.
Damn straight.
Yeah, you can be like how to order our food online, like how to buy our shoes, how to tie our shoes. They're 14.99. I mean, I don't know. You can go on forever, but it just seems like something that's could definitely be taken advantage of. And I'm looking at some of those results, and it looks like people get far more impressions once they start implementing some how-tos.
Yeah, I mean, so it's sort of like this weird accordion slash carousel thing, and it's like no one else is like really doing it yet. So you heard it here first. Take advantage of it. Start doing it.
Yeah, how to tie a tie. That's been taken though. Don't do that one.
Yeah.
And then according to the picture, up top it says how to be a 6-year-old and get a job at a construction site, according to that article.
It's pretty neat though.
And
So,
then how to do a sit-up. So imagine if you're in fitness, I mean, it's just like ridiculous how many you could
oh,
probably do.
this would be like a rush to get all this stuff done.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
you just like do the schema for every single fitness like exercise you can possibly do, every single DIY. If you're a plumber, handyman,
I might just
pest
do this
control,
right now myself. You know?
I'm probably gonna do it. I mean, we could do the how-to for anything you've done in SEO, how to start Google My Business, how to optimize a page, how to write the content that gets ranked. I mean, you can
Yeah.
just go
I
on and
mean,
on.
just take up as much SERP real estate as possible. You know?
Yeah, it looks like the steps. So also there's a step name, description, and page URL. So that's interesting. Find that. Wow, it looks really easy. I'm like, I'm just like, I don't know. How often do you see schema that schema is not really known to interfere with other schema, right? If you do it correctly.
Um, no, because it's just going to display whatever the SERP's going to have priority display. That's what's going to display.
That
You
makes
know?
sense.
Like, yeah, it's like it's not either like Google has decided to show this markup schema for these terms. And so I imagine if it didn't have none of them had it, it wouldn't even show it, right?
I'm gonna do how to tie a tie right now. So right now, you don't even see a carousel. You see the article snippet. It's how to tie a tie 17 different ways to tie necktie knots, and it's realm. Who the heck? Realm, real men's real style. Okay, cool. I read that as realm, and then yeah, I see some videos. So it's it's an example of like videos kind of making a comeback a little bit more in results because actually now that I'm looking at it, I don't see too many video thumbnails as much as I used to. I do see the image.
I do. I see them, but they're just they. I see them a lot for how tos. They're definitely very prevalent in that world.
All right, I typed in how to eat a coconut. Again, it's the same kind of thing. I like also that people also ask.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool too.
So I mean, I think we gave a pretty good rundown of what schema is. You
Yeah,
know.
I think it's kind of like one of those more visual things. You're going to look at the code. You're going to go on schema.org. You're going to Google search it, and you're going to see like how to implement. You're going to look at the Google markup generation tool, and then it's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, the only thing is just kind of implementing it on the website, which is gonna what is it? It's typically almost always in the header, right?
Not that I've ever. I mean, I've always used like a plugin, so I don't know.
It almost always injects into the header.
Does it?
Yeah. So and then
Imagine
once
you want it to fire as high up on the page as possible, though.
right, yeah, the
Yeah.
header. So
Yeah.
and then you do tag manager to verify you did it correctly. That's really about it.
Not tag manager. There's a
Tag verifier, tag
yeah. There's a
tag
schema
lover.
checker. Google schema checker will allow you to check and see if it's working correctly, and also you can check other websites and see what schema they've added. You can steal it.
Yeah, you can go to your competition and be like, these guys have like 15 things going on. That's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, make sure you use that to see if you did it correctly. So
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
but yeah, I mean, I think follow those steps. We gave you some good tips, but also start implementing it. Do it as soon as you can, because you're just gonna be better off for it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one more thing to take advantage of, especially if you're in-house or you're like a director of marketing. If you're an agency, you start with the most important. Like I know that we do aggregate review because we want to increase the click-through. We tend to do article because we want to get rich snippet. That's amazing. But sometimes
Start with
that's
local if that's the kind of client you got too.
yeah, local too. I mean, those are like three ones because that's the only ones I talk about. It's pretty much.
Yeah.
And plus,
Local,
I don't work
I
for
actually
movie
think you'll
theaters.
see I actually think you'll see an increase in rankings if you do the local and like local rankings.
I think that's the one. Yeah, exactly. So like the articles click through, the reviews are click through, and then the local I feel is like a little bit of an edge as far as positioning,
Yeah,
actual positioning.
I've definitely implemented it and seen an increase in my like Google Maps rankings for sure.
I think this is a great project. Like I said, if you're in-house or you're doing your own SEO, or you're doing your own marketing for website or whatever it is that you do, I'd be like, cool, go on schema.org and like see what's out there and just literally take advantage of every single thing that makes sense for you.
Yeah, just check it out.
Just check it out.
Check it
That's
out.
like our tagline.
Yeah,
This is
just
in
check it
Other
out.
Lies. Just check it out.
Check
At the
us
very
out.
least, just check it out.
But anyways, thanks so much for listening, guys, and be sure to like, share, or subscribe. It feels weird saying that because that's what everyone says, you know. But honestly, we want the subscriptions. It's cool. We don't get anything out of it. We just want it
Not yet,
for
anyway.
for our egos, I guess. Yeah,
No, it's cool. I mean, we're getting like a little bit of outreach. If we wrap up right now, the podcast's only about 30 minutes, right?
that's all right.
Oh, is it? Cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes people don't want to listen to us talk that long. That's
we can
okay.
do a shorter one. Yeah,
A shorter one.
yeah.
Just a
But
couple.
yeah, so thanks so much for listening. We appreciate you guys, and if you got any questions, you want to hit us up, you can send us an email at seosandotherlies@gmail.com, or send us a message on Facebook or on YouTube. We respond really quickly. But
Yeah, no, we're here to go over any of the topics that y'all want us to discuss. We're more than happy to. We enjoy this stuff, and even if it's something we've talked about or we've done for a while, it's always good to freshen up on what's going on out there because we want to provide the best information that we can and be as
yeah,
accurate as possible.
definitely. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening, guys. I'm Paul Warren,
And I'm Ryan Klein.
and this has been another episode of SEO is Dead and Otherwise.
Take care of yourself, okay?
Bye.